Welcome to The Advocates. I'm Aaron Dean. Democrats are criticizing GOP lawmakers for cutting funding for a program that provides affordable housing to LGBTQIA plus people in Boston. The House Appropriations Committee removed $825,000 in federal funding for the Pride in the latest appropriations bill. The Pride will feature 74 one- and two-bedroom apartments for LGBTQ plus seniors. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley accused Republicans of supporting homophobia and called it policy violence.
Republicans are choosing homophobia over housing, profits over people, cruelty over compassion. Their actions to target, attack, and dehumanize our LGBTQ siblings are nothing more than a show of contempt. While the Pride has a pathway for other federal funding, this act of policy violence contributes to the physical violence that far too many LGBTQ folks experience. As the vice chair of the Task Force on Aging and Housing, I want my LGBTQ constituents and siblings in the movement to know you deserve safe and affordable housing. You deserve to be seen and loved, and I will never stop fighting for you.
Pressley is the vice chair of the Task Force on Aging and Housing. A Florida teacher has been fired for using the gender-neutral title MX. AV Very is non-binary, and they say that the principal initially approved the use of the title MX instead of using Mr., Mrs., or Miss, but that approval was revoked and Very was fired. The school cited the state's Don't Say Gay law, which prohibits the use of preferred pronouns in school. Very is filing a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This could become the first major challenge of the controversial law. Dr. Cleo Manago is making sure the LGBTQ plus community in Maryland has safe spaces to come together and celebrate. He is the CEO of the Pride Center of Maryland and the founder of Black Men's Exchange, and he says there's a need to celebrate Black queer joy. Please share with our audience a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your background.
Okay, well, my background officially is, or formally, it's a better way to put it, is in behavioral health and cultural anthropology. I also work around the field of public health, and I'm primarily an activist. I mean, all those titles and stuff are really part of my toolkit to try to be an effective activist for the communities that I am a part of and I'm trying to help advance. And I am also the CEO of the Pride Center of Maryland in the state of Maryland and the chief advisor to the Black Men's Exchange and the Black Women's Exchange.
And what is it for you? What is your why? Why do you do the things that you do?
Well, in short, when I was a young person, back when there were dinosaurs and stuff, just kidding. Uh, I didn't see a lot that was available to people who were needed affirmation as Black people, who needed affirmation of same gender loving, bi and trans people, etc. Matter of fact, those terms didn't even exist when I was a kid. And as I grew up, I noticed that there was a bias in this culture. These days, people often refer to it as white supremacy. I call it white supremacy mythology because it's a myth that white people are supreme to anybody. And those situations or that formatted framework for the society interfered with the capacity for people like myself to have easy access to affirmation, support, self love, mental health services, support, empowerment. So, based on trying to, well, first I tried to work in traditional systems to be a part of those systems to help make them relevant to my community. They were marred with racism and blind sights and an inability to be meaningful and relevant to the community. So I did what I can with my life to fill that gap.
And like you had mentioned, you are the CEO of the Pride Center of Maryland, and you all recently were celebrating Baltimore Black Pride. Tell us about that celebration and why is it so important to have Black prides in our communities?
Well, it might be important to. I want to do my best to have a lot of positive things to say, and some of the answers to this is intense
Okay.
because it's not all a wonderful story. And I
Mhm.
preface that because the reason that there is a Black Pride is because the larger Pride slash White Pride did not provide enough affirmation, safe space, and cultural sensitivity to Black people. So resulting from the lack of safe space in predominantly white, so-called gay LGBT spaces, Black people created their own niche for the guarantee of affirmation. So that's why there is such thing as a Black Pride. And the Black Pride projects across the country exist in October primarily to celebrate same-gender loving bi and trans people who are part of the Black family and part of the human family, and providing safe and affirmation space for those communities. And we've been doing that for the past several years, and we just got out of it. October ends as of tomorrow, and we've been doing a lot of celebrations, a lot of events, social change events, affirmation events, fashion shows, all kinds of stuff that this community likes.
With those events, how has the community responded, and how have they come together more? Are they learning more? How's that impacted them?
Well, coming together and learning more is key to my work and what I think is important. So, absolutely, we've had forums, we've had panels, we've had discussions on history, on how to navigate through society and be more affirmed. We do a lot of work around self-conceptual health and cultural affirmation. So yes, there has been opportunities, and people have come out. We've had a very large turnout to all of our events. And I think that's because of a mixture of how we promote them and a hunger in the community to finally have something that is clearly custom tailored to the affirmation of this particular population. Because that's nothing to take for granted even to this day. So when the spaces are finally created, people tend to flock to them.
You are the founder of the Black Men's Exchange. Tell us about that organization and how that all came to be. What was going on at the time that made you say, you know what, we got to put this together?
Okay. The Black Men's Exchange was founded in 1989, back when I was a mere child. And the reason that the organization came into existence is similar to what I said earlier in this conversation. At that time, there was a deadly HIV/AIDS epidemic. You're too young to probably know that once upon a time, like in the mid 80s and early 90s, homosexual and bisexual men were dying like flies. And the coffins were piling up, and there was a lot of death and a lot of funerals. And similar to now, before the Black Men's Exchange came into being, there was absolutely nothing nationally or locally that created affirmation, safe space, motivation to practice self-preservation, or people to feel safe and valuable enough to protect themselves from this scary disease. So before the HIV issue even came up, I was concerned about the lack of mental health support and what I call self-conceptual support for people in this community that was already a risk factor. Then this daily HIV thing came along. I was like, oh my God, something needs to be accelerated to create a strategic response to resolving this issue. So because of the need to create safe space, and one thing that's very important about the Black Men's Exchange is it was the first organization to create safe space for this population within the confines of the Black community. Before the Black Men's Exchange, when same-gender living people came together, if they did at all, it was on a night that the white gay community gave them a room, or it was in a private hiding space or someplace outside the community. Where it was my perspective that, look, if we're not to be seen or act like freaks, we have to be where our families are. We can't be practicing an outsider perspective or approach. We have to be where our mamas and daddies and families and people are in the same place, so we can be acknowledged as part of the family. So the Black Men's Exchange did that, and as a matter of fact, there were other organizations and people said this is not going to work. They're going to come get you. You're not going to be safe. And I was like, look, I'm part of the Black community. I'm part of the Black family. I'm showing up. And we all showed up. And it's been hundreds and hundreds of us who've showed up since. And the organization has become an institution going on 30-something years now in the community.
Thanks so much for watching The Advocates. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to stream us live, and you can even subscribe to our YouTube channel. For The Advocate channel, I'm Aaron Dean.